Stop by to interact with the community and I every Friday night at 8 o'clock for live stream Fridays.
Welcome, trolls. Bruce sees all.
Hi everyone, welcome. Bruce Swartz here from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Looking into the surface of the moon, we're looking at objects that look flat. And even the most elevated surfaces like the Apennine mountain range, which is just 10,000 feet approximately underneath Mount Everest here on Earth, we still see it looking flat and close to the surface. I want to talk briefly about parallax and foreshortening. The meaning of parallax is the displacement or difference in the apparent position of an object viewed along two different lines of sight. Parallax arises due to the change in viewpoint occurring due to motion of the observer, of the observed, or both. Lunar parallax is more particular, and I want to talk to you about it because, well, we're looking at the moon. So lunar parallax, we're talking about a special case of diurnal parallax. I'll get into that with the stars after. The moon, being the nearest celestial body, so they say, has by far the largest maximum parallax of any celestial body. It can exceed 1 degree. Here's an example of diurnal parallax. We're talking about a parallax that varies with rotation of the Earth or with difference of location on the Earth. The moon, and to a smaller extent the terrestrial planets or asteroids seen from different viewing positions on Earth. At one given moment, we can appear to see differently placed objects coming through the sky against the background of the fixed stars. And this is exactly what we're seeing right here. As the stars on a flat surface are moving to the right, we see an entry of this, which is actually asteroid 4338, 4388 Jurgenstock, giving a good example of diurnal parallax, the way we're seeing it, the way the observer sees it. All that to explain that sometimes we can see shadows that don't look like they're in the right positions on the moon. It could also be because of that lunar parallax. By creating a foreshortening view of the surface, that optical illusional effect that we're seeing things lying down. So there are some objects that are high rising off the surface of the moon, but we're seeing them flatter. So keep that into mind. I found the proper terms to be able to explain to you exactly what I'm trying to explain to some of you that I didn't know myself. I was trying to explain parallax without actually understanding it. So, in other words, in basic terms, look at this cover on the surface. Isn't that incredible? It bugs me in the Southern Highlands. But either way, some people see bridges and some people see towers. Some people see inverted and convex craters. Some of you may see these lying down, running along the surface, and some of you, like me, may see them elevated. Different viewpoints, different perspectives. The best example to explain in a very quick way what parallax is and understanding it is when you're driving down the street in your car and you see that you're driving 50 kilometers an hour, or in the States 50 miles an hour. The person beside you could think you're going 45 miles an hour because of the different viewpoint. I'll go back onto it, guys. It's hard to understand. Floating stationary points over top of cloud smokes or hazes. This object going into the darkness of a crater, and this object going downwards. We're seeing flashes of lights. I've documented it. There's someone or something up there for sure on the moon. Now here's where it gets interesting. I've shown these two parts in two different videos, but now I'm going to show them together. It's going to make a couple of you go, what? Dumbfounded, open mouth. These UFOs that obviously we all know that they're real UFOs on the surface of the moon, I slowed this down to see what was going on. So get this. Why we're not seeing where they're coming from and they're just appearing in formation over the moon is that they're possibly coming out of these stations. So some of these UFOs, to join the formation, could be coming out of these areas. Let's just call them stations to orient ourselves. Watch this. Here we have a light lighting up on the surface of the moon. This is the same frame of fleet that I just showed you, except in extremely slow motion. First station, let's call this the second station. We see it could be the first light from the first station. It's actually just going to these different areas over top of the surface. Yet another one on the right back at the first. Try to follow. I know it's hard, but this is worth showing. Quite incredible. Lights are leaving and they're meeting up in formation. And all this happened very, very quickly. And then you go, what? There's more objects and more lights. So we go back to the station. There's yet another light occurring. So is this something that's continually occurring? So I may have captured exactly how these fleets are going by or joining up side by side so quickly. They could be possibly coming from the surface in the way that we're seeing them right here. We can't say we're not seeing them. The lights that you're looking at right now are those UFOs that went by. This is just the footage slowed down. It's just that we're seeing it so fast. Our eyes are not able to differentiate exactly who and what is going where. So looking at the footage, I say, oh, a UFO all by itself. And then whoops, where did these on the right come from? And that's where we're zoomed up to see them, where I'm talking about the supposed stations. Trying to explain exactly what we're looking at and how we're seeing it. Look here, the UFO. 3 things you're going to see by slowing this down. 1, you see projectiles coming out. 2, you see the intensity of this light intensifying. And 3, another projectile that's here further down. By slowing the footage down, you can see it, and by looking at it quickly, of course you cannot see it. And without this light filter, night vision's straight up, it helps, obviously, for us to be able to differentiate what's going on the surface. So here it is. I showed it to you. Slow motion, intensity of the light going up after the projectile was released, and up to the top left corner there, you will see a light that's projected. And look on the bottom right, that the UFO does have a beam pointing to that area. There's no wonder that UFOs are over a surface. It's constructed almost entirely. Just at the bottom of Copernicus crater here, look, structures with the same reflectivity as the surface. You're ruling it out because it's not impressive, but it's there, and that's how they're hiding. It's just straight up forward, sort of natural camouflage of the surface. Add some hazes in that, very important. This is an exquisite view, by the way. Copernicus crater, just on the top there, the white spot. So I'm not hiding the area of where I'm finding these things. You're going to tell me that these UFOs cannot come out of these massive pipe tunnels? Look at them. They're right there. They're white. The same reflectivity as the surface. The camouflage has to be that, a part anyways, is that white reflectivity that we're seeing. It could be natural, but it sure is helping them from keeping us from seeing them. Here's Apollo 11 crew leaving the surface of the moon, and watch what you're going to see happen. We're going to see a light that appears inside the crater, and notice the structures and objects alongside of the crater, and look at the back, the color on the surface, and the structures the same exact way as I show you in my own footage. So watch the light here, object in the crater. And let's see it one more time, just a little bit closer, just a little closer. There you go. You know, it's just something that's pretty cool. Wanted to share with you the Apollo landing. Speaking of the Apollo supposed 11 landing site, here it is. So we're seeing just a glimpse of the surface structures. And let me tell you something, natural or not, one of the hardest areas on the surface, by coincidence, is it or not, to be able to see the bloody surface. Here the exposure taken down. Signs just showing you guys that there are structured objects on the surface and it's not a gray pile of dust. Suzanne, Paul, thanks so much for the generous contributions, and to everyone who supports this channel and come here. Louise Estevez, welcome. Winona Durden, Jeff Walker, Christina, David, thanks everyone.